call the meeting to order. Could you please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Kiefer, could you please call the roll?
Chairman.
Oh, no, wait. You want to do that?
No, Carrie's better than I.
Carrie's went on roll.
I was rolling.
Ms. Clapper, would you please call the roll? Calm down, everybody.
Chairman Demiria.
He's here.
Vice Chairman Albrecht.
Here.
Mr. Bushnell. Mrs. Kiefer. Here. Mrs. Purdy. Here. Mrs. Sebeski. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Student Liaisons, Ms. Spall. Here. Mr. Whedon.
Here. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda, Dr. McGorrick?
Yes, there are. We need to add a closed session at the end of the meeting regarding personnel. We need to add to the consent agenda personnel addendum and student transfers. And we need to move from the discussion agenda to the action agenda, fiscal year 2015-16, student fees and charges, building use fees, and food service fees, and charges and fee waiver policy.
Thank you. And hopefully you can remind me when we get to the action agenda that we go to that one. Announcements and spotlights.
Thank you, Dr. McGorrick. Good evening, Chairman Demiria and other members of the board and all who have joined us here this evening. I am here to present our superintendent spotlights for tonight. First, I'd like to begin with the VSBA Spring Regional Forum Art Contest. Each year, the Virginia School Boards Association asks school divisions to submit 3 pieces of student art for their annual student art contest, which is held in conjunction with the Regional Spring Network Forums. 1 entry may be submitted from an elementary, middle, and high school student from each school division. Manassas City Public Schools had 3 students that participated this year. As I call your names, please come forward and share your artwork with us. From Osborne High School, Kayla Reeves. Thank you. From Metz Middle School, Chance Hollingsworth.
You actually brought yours?
Oh.
Thank you. From Weems Elementary School, Stephen Pineda.
That's Stephen's artwork.
Congratulations. Thank you.
All right, ready, 1?
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, and 3.
Thanks.
And now for the Apple Award. For the Apple Award, instructional staff were chosen for their demonstration of effective strategies and techniques of instruction their use of innovative approaches to support the instructional program, how they share ideas and/or materials, and a willingness to collaborate with their coworkers to improve student achievement. They're also noted for their effective communication with parents, students, administrators, coworkers, and the community, and the demonstration of 21st century skills for the 21st century learner by using critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, innovation, communication, and/or collaboration. As I call your names, please come forward to receive your award. Baldwin Elementary School, Ashley Stewart. Ashley is a knowledgeable team player. She successfully collaborates with the 4th grade team to provide quality instruction and implement strategies in order to effectively help all students. Recently, she willingly and successfully took over the classroom of a teacher on medical leave. She was able to build a relationship with the class while maintaining the consistency they need to succeed. She really does put her colleagues and students first. Jenny Dean Elementary School, Gianna Giara. Mrs. Giara is not just a 2nd grade interventionist, but a true educator who consistently seeks to refine and improve herself. Her true motivation is to teach, so that all the students learn and feel successful. Mrs. Giara never allows the confines of a position to limit what she's willing to do to help those around her. The Jenny Dean family unanimously agrees that she is an irreplaceable asset. Hayden Elementary School, Belen de Guzman. Belen de Guzman has been a strong force on the ESOL team for 13 years. She works tirelessly with all of her students, providing invaluable support for even the highest need ESOL students. Mrs. de Guzman helps teachers and parents communicate. Her colleagues appreciate her hard work and devotion to continuously sharing ideas and strategies. Thank you. And for Round Elementary School, Jan Schultz, who I believe is not here this evening, but we will still recognize her anyways. Mrs. Schultz demonstrates best practices every single day in her teaching and is knowledgeable in all content areas. She works hard to make sure students get the individual instruction they need according to their strengths and weaknesses. Mrs. Schultz's ability to collaborate and communicate effectively with colleagues, parents, and students across multiple grade levels has earned her this nomination. Okay, next is Weem Elementary School, Robin Robertson, who I don't believe is here either tonight. Robin Robertson is a versatile instructional assistant whose quiet demeanor is most effective when teaching content and language skills to English language learners. She is able to work with all students across all grade levels and in every subject. Her ability to collaborate with other teachers as a co-lead on the ESOL team ensures all students flourish. Next up is Mayfield Intermediate School, Mike D'Amelio. Mr. D, as some of you may know him, is dedicated to the health and physical education program at Mayfield and has provided the leadership and hard work necessary to build the program over the last 9 years. He accommodates the lesson activities for all students and encourages students to support each other. Mr. D also serves as a coach and mentor for many student athletes and is often involved in extracurricular activities as well. Okay, next, Metz Middle School, Felix Sandy. Felix is always finding new strategies to help his students learn the material being taught. He is great to work with, and staff finds that he always has new strategies to share with them on how to further aid the students. According to his colleagues, he is very deserving of this award. Last for our Apple Awards, Osborne High School, Ruby Sotelo. Ruby Sotelo is very effective at helping students understand the complexities of geometry. She is a true team teacher who eagerly shares duties and strategies. She is also effective at reaching the whole class, including the special education students. She accomplishes this by providing extra instructional support when needed and building a good rapport with both her students and parents. Congratulations. Okay, well, now you're going to get a little bit closer so we can get all of you in a nice photo.
All right, here we go. One, two, three. One more.
Congratulations. Okay, now on to the Pear Awards. The School Board Pear Award recognizes the people that support Manassas City Public Schools behind the scenes. These staff members include bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodial staff, instructional assistants, administrative associates, and others who support student learning. To be considered for the School Board Pear Award, nominees must demonstrate exemplary motivational characteristics, positive interaction with their peers, and noteworthy contributions to his or her department or school location. As I call your name, please come down to receive your award. For Baldwin Elementary School, Kelly Bailey Luzarte. I don't think she's here tonight, but as a computer lab teacher, Kelly works with all students, pre-K through 4th grade. This takes a great deal of patience and an understanding of each grade level's needs and skills. She is always enthusiastic, reliable, patient, creative, and friendly, and has developed a reputation for helping out whenever and wherever she is needed. Her leadership skills when working with both students and coworkers has earned her this nomination. Congratulations. Okay, next is Jenny Dean Elementary School, Katrina Ward. I don't think she's here either, but we will recognize her anyways, just in case she's watching on TV. Because I tweeted everybody and told them I was going to be on TV. So, Katrina Ward has worked as an elementary instructional technology teacher for 12 years. The kids are always excited to go to her computer lab class where she presents a calm demeanor that is soothing for students. Ms. Ward also spends many hours preparing and coordinating the yearbook and helps lead the Lego League Club as well. Next is Hayden Elementary School, Cindy Echeverria. Cindy is instrumental in helping students find the right book in the library and always makes the process easier and more enjoyable for them. She assists teachers by locating materials, laminating items, and creating posters on a daily basis. The library would not be able to function as smoothly without her as the assistant librarian. Thank you. Okay, for Round Elementary School, Jeanette Collar. Jeanette wears many hats at Round Elementary School. Her endless energy benefits both students and staff. She can be seen participating in after-school activities such as Lego League, adding a new bulletin board display, and planning with her lead teacher on a variety of tasks. Mrs. Collar is always respectful and displays a positive attitude. Congratulations. Okay, and for Weems Elementary School, Jenny Mullins. Jenny Mullins is an original employee of Manassas City Public Schools and has been a mentor and trainer for many newly hired custodians. At Dean, she opens the school doors every day at 6:15 to get the building ready for the day. She is further recognized for her highest standards in building maintenance, such as keeping the school bright and clean and overseeing snow removal even during the never-ending winters that we seem to be having. One student said it best when she said that Mrs. Mullins was, quote, so brave to be cleaning up after us. Congratulations. Okay, for Mayfield Intermediate School, we have Faye Stark. Mrs. Stark is a special education instructional assistant who joined the Mayfield team later in the year, but you would never know it. Her upbeat attitude has helped her establish relationships with both staff and students very quickly. Ms. Stark is a team player who is always willing to do what needs to be done and collaborate with teachers to be more efficient. Her organization skills and attention to detail combined with her supportive nature has really helped her students reach their potential. Thank you. Okay, and for Metz Middle School, we have Judy Lunders. Judy Lunders is the greeter at Met, and anyone who walks by her desk is met with a positive, helpful attitude. She works very hard to make sure everyone who walks through the front doors is helped quickly and efficiently. Her ability to multitask, to help teachers, parents, and students is what makes her a great asset to the Metz family. Thank you. And for Osborne High School, Danya Otero. Danya Otero is so much more than a translator. She is an outstanding advocate for all OHS families. She is passionate about ensuring all students are successful and is highly respected within the school community. Mrs. Otero will stop whatever she is working on to lend a helping hand whenever needed. Thank you very much. Okay, so these are some folks that I get to work with at Central Office. First, from the Maintenance Department, Stephen Jankowskis. Jankowskis is a conscientious maintenance worker who takes pride in his job. From moving and reorganizing a library-sized load of books from one classroom to another on more than one occasion, to replacing whiteboards in multiple classrooms, Mr. Jankowskis always sticks around for the heavy lifting. He is very pleasant towards school staff and focused on doing the best job he can do. The Transportation Department, Nancy Rodriguez. Nancy Rodriguez is a wonderful asset to the Manassas City Public Schools Transportation Department for the last 11 years. She is always kind, caring, and patient with her assigned students on her bus route. Mrs. Rodriguez goes above and beyond by serving on the hospitality committee, keeping the crew room clean and fresh coffee brewing, which always brings a smile to the many faces of her coworkers. Her professionalism and positive attitude are what has earned her this nomination. Thank you. Okay, last but not least, from Food Services, Montoya Jackson. Montoya is the cafeteria manager at Osborne, and she has been a true asset since joining the Food Services team in December. Her ability to hit the ground running while bringing insight and a cohesiveness to her team has led her team to a successful site visit during the recent Federal Administrative Review. Mrs. Jackson has been a part of the TAG culinary class at Weems and mentored many new team members. Her professionalism and maturity will serve her well as she continues her career in food services. Thank you. Take a photo at this time. Thank you.
Okay, we ready? Yeah, go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Smile. 3.
Congratulations.
I might glad this thing going. Get into the fun part.
Says other things.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, I have that one. But this is one thing. I'm gonna go. Thanks. Yeah, she's gonna sing.
Is that this here?
Oh, there's an orchestra concert.
Is that the only place that's wrong?
I think it's on her website as that, because I had it in my calendar, and I was gonna go Thursday night, and then my neighbor who's at Jazz Fest said, no, it's Friday.
It's a rock fest.
That's the Grammy and the Rock Fest. Those are different.
Transfer.
The Thursday, 10 minutes is the Grammy fest.
Okay. See you, Lisa. Be good. Committee reports. Academics. Mr. Williams?
Thank you. Academic committee had a meeting earlier this evening, feels like this afternoon. We had a library update. We also had a textbook adoption update, and the textbook adoption updates will be brought to the board at a later date.
Thank you, sir. Policy. Mrs. Sebeski?
Mr. Chair, thank you. The policy committee did meet on last Tuesday to do the VSBA updates that occurred from the General Assembly. You have in your packets, if you have not already received them, some of that, and I'll talk about it under the discussion item of policy.
Thank you. Education support. Mr. Albright?
Just as members of the committee, Mrs. Clapper will be getting with you. Hopefully we get a meeting next week or the week after that, talk about a couple of items. We haven't met in a while, but bulldozers are still moving.
And they are. Finance. Mr.
Yeah, I guess I'll give that one, yes. We did have a meeting last night. There are 3 items actually in the various portions of this evening's package. The insurance is under consent agenda. Student fees is an action item. on tonight's agenda. And also, we're going to propose, and we have to work again with the members of the board, a joint budget work session of the full board so that we can actually look at the whole. Mr. Hawkins gave a good presentation, and we can talk about where we are with respect to city funding, the total budget, and get to the final budget.
Thank you, sir. There's no personnel report tonight. Board members' comments. First thing I want to do is recognize Mr. Elston. Thank you again for being here. Our city councilman liaison to the school board, and you're actually showing up rather than just watching it on TV. We appreciate that. We will start with Mr. Whedon. Throw your curve. You ready?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Thanks. I'd like to just say congrats to everybody that received awards. And I'd also like to say good luck to the girls lacrosse team. It's their senior night. And we have less than a month until graduation, so, you know, that's always fun. And, yeah.
Thank you, sir. How many days till graduation?
Less than a month, so, like...
I thought you knew the exact days.
Not right now.
All right, well, thank you very much. Ms. Spall, you know the exact days?
I thought he had it.
Okay.
I guess first, I know you guys have already been invited, but I wanted to remind you and anyone in our audience other than my mom, I guess, that the Grammy Award ceremony will be at Osborne tomorrow night at 7, and it's also the guitar concert called Rockfest, which will benefit Serve. And if you look at the upcoming dates on the back of your agenda, Jazz Fest is not happening twice, and it's on neither of the dates listed. It's this Friday.
I thought it was Thursday.
No, Friday.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got it on Thursday. Okay. Yeah, she can tell me. All right.
It's in between the 14th and 16th.
It's somewhere in there. Okay. Now I will call on Mrs. Kiefer correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So last week we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, and in Manassas City Public Schools it's Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. We recognize everybody, and it was also Nurse Appreciation Week. My mother was an educator and administrator, and my personal inspiration for being so passionate about everybody's education and their right to a good and solid education, which they receive here in Manassas City. I have a firsthand appreciation of the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes into being a teacher and a staff member, a bus driver, anybody here who supports these schools. And I want to personally thank our teachers and staff for their service and the administrators who support and are behind them all the way, for your unwavering commitment to our children. I thank you. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. This week is National Police Week, in which we honor police officers across the country for their service and remember those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for us. As the proud wife of a police officer, I applaud our men and women in blue for their service, and I tip my hat to the school resource officers who keep our schools safe. Let's all come together to appreciate those in our school community. Teachers, staff, administrators, nurses, police officers, counselors, every single one of them who are so vital to shaping the future of our community through our children. Thank them not just during appreciation weeks, but every day that you see them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Purdy.
Okay, so I want to send out congratulations to our young budding artists. I have to admit, I know we're not supposed to pick favorites, but I absolutely loved, I think it was a pastel with all those colors. That's something I'd put on my walls. So it was nice to see that. I also want to congratulate our personnel awardees. Once again, you get to see the care factor that our kids are surrounded with during the day, and you got to hear about, there really is a lot of collaboration and critical thinking and creativity that's going on in our schools because of what our teachers and staff and personnel are doing, and kids watch that, they see it. So when you've got personnel in the school systems that are modeling the skill sets that we want our kids to learn, you know, when they come out of Manassas City Public Schools, that's what your kids are going to have. So I thank them for that. And with that, I'll hand it on back. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Williams?
Thank you. It's something personal I don't usually do, but I want to congratulate Ms. Sebesky on her recent graduation of her former Osborne, now college graduate student, Emily. It's awesome, and I saw the pictures on Facebook, so congratulations. I know it's a proud moment. Mr. Wheaton mentioned the girls lacrosse game. I literally ran from the game to get to a meeting here, but I just was texted by my daughter that they're winning 10-6, so hopefully they'll hold on and beat Stonewall. And they had a very moving ceremony before the lacrosse game tonight, so I'm glad you remember them. Congratulations to all the award winners earlier. We thank you for everything you do for our community, and I echo Ms. Kiefer's comments about officers and about all those who help our students, because there's so many people who help our students we don't recognize, and we shouldn't recognize them only during Appreciation Week, but all throughout the year. Finally, about a week and a half ago, there was a talent show at Osborne, which one member of the panel participated in. The talent at the talent show is always amazing. The kids did a great job, so congratulations to Ms. Benner and everyone who was involved with that. Also, about a week ago, there was a ceremony at Weems Elementary. We dedicated the library to Angie Burnett. Her 2 children were there, and their father was there as well, and it was a very moving ceremony. And I'm glad that we're keeping her memory alive, because she did a lot of great things for our school. And with that, I will end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Sebesky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also like to congratulate all of our Apple and Pear Award winners this evening that were here. It is always great to hear about the great things going on in our schools, and it leads into my echoing of Mrs. Kiefer's comment about teacher appreciation last week, and teacher and staff appreciation. We have such great work going on in our schools, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into every day to help our students achieve their goals and their dreams. And from somebody who came from a family as the first college graduate, it was teachers that inspired me to be the best that I could be, because one of my parents never even graduated from high school. So it really, you do every day really is shaping our future, and it really is very much appreciated. And I do recognize all of the hard work that goes into every day to make all of that happen. I have had the pleasure to attend several city council meetings recently as we've worked through the budget process. And I would like to thank all of the citizens that came out and did speak on behalf of Manassas City Schools. We are all one city, and we all will only elevate together. So I appreciate people coming out and giving the feedback to the council. As Mr. Williams did say, my daughter did graduate this past weekend, and we're very proud parents, obviously, as many people are. One of the things that was said at graduation I'd like to use in my closing tonight, Ann Holton, who's the Secretary of Education for the state of Virginia, was the keynote speaker. And part of her speech, as she talked to the students that were graduating, she talked to them about the fact that their attitude would determine their altitude. And I'd like to leave everyone with that closing thought, because our attitude here in the city of Manassas is what will change the altitude of how far we can go. Each and every one of us has a part in that, and each one of us can play a part in making a difference. So every day, think about what you're doing to make this community a better place with your attitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Albright.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Williams, for starting with the Weems dedication last week. It was really a solemn and a great occasion to both celebrate the dedication of the library, but also the success that Weems is having. Matter of fact, one of the people there reminded me of comments I had made several years ago at Convocation about why Manassas, and in fact, the success that school has, one of the top 25 elementary schools in the nation, is why Manassas. And oddly, I was at dinner last Friday night in Old Town. We're sitting next to a couple that have moved here from Alexandria. Sold their house, moved here, living in the Weems area. That's why Manassas. So it's something that we really need to remember, that there are great things happening in this community. Reminds me kind of also of how long I've been here. We had a thing this evening of celebrating the 25th anniversary of Mets coming up. It's just really hard for me to realize it's been 25 years. I know when that school was built, there were people who said, that was the last school we'd ever have because the city's built out, and that was before an addition to Osborne. That was before Mayfield. That's before New Baldwin. And several weeks ago, we had a community engagement session talking about where do we need to go as we look to where our student enrollment's going to be, and they need to add, by my count, a 9th school in the city. What is that going to look like? Where will it be? And again, there'll be a future session coming up in June. We do want the community engagement for that. You know, the schools spend a large share of the community revenue. The state doesn't pay its full share. The federal government doesn't pay its fair share. It's up to localities to invest in the education and the youth of today who are going to be our future of tomorrow. So to that end, please get involved and keep making Manassas a great place.
Thank you, sir. I too would like to congratulate everybody that we had up here tonight. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and to all of our teachers, for me at least, it's a teacher appreciation lifetime. I appreciate you every day, not just Teacher Appreciation Week, as we all do. The City Council did meet upstairs here last week, and they came up with a tax rate, and it will add a few $100,000 to the school's budget above what was projected in November. We also have to remember that according to the revenue sharing agreement, it should be another $500,000 on top of that or so, or $600,000. I don't know how City Council could have gotten to the revenue sharing agreement to make it whole. It was a very, very difficult situation for them. I believe it's a situation that they put themselves in, but they're still not honoring the revenue sharing agreement right now. I understand it would have been a very difficult thing to do. The tax rate would have had to gone through the roof. But that being said, we still have an agreement that should be lived up to. And it's not right now. They made a motion early in the meeting to meet with the school board to discuss the revenue sharing agreement before September 1st. Those of you that were there know that. If not, sometime between now and September 1st, council would like to meet with us. They made a motion and it passed. They kind of need our acceptance to that as well, but we need to do that and come up with a agreement that is good for the schools and good for the city and that can be lived up to. We need consistency. If you're going to have a revenue sharing agreement, it needs to be lived up to so that we can plan what's going to happen in the schools. That's the purpose of it, so we know what's going to be happening. And if the rules are going to be changed in the middle of the game, we don't know what's going to be happening. So it's got to be consistent. We've got to fix this thing, and so sometime between now and September 1st, we will call a meeting to where we will get together with City Council and try and hash this thing out. And that's all I've got. So we will continue to citizens' comments. Jill, do you want to say anything? 26 days. Okay, thank you. It's 26 days to graduation. I don't think any of our staff wants to address. Do you, Mr. Elson? Okay. So everybody on TV, now you know that the room is just about empty. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas adopt the consent agenda as modified.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mrs. Sebeski. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carries. Any opposed? Carries 6-0. Okay. Discussion. School calendar.
Mr. Lyon.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the board. This evening, I stand before you to present a proposed school calendar for the school year 2016-2017. The calendar that I am proposing is a result of a calendar, the first version that we put out for feedback from the grade level teams and department teams, and asked the teams to discuss it and provide us feedback. The academic committee considered that feedback and made several changes, and that is the calendar before you today. In creating the calendar, one thing I wanted to highlight tonight is the fact that there are requirements that we have to consider and meet when developing the school calendar. And the calendar requirements put constraints on how the outcome is developed. The first requirement, this is self-imposed, but we wanted a pre-Labor Day start, and that is contingent upon Prince William County Schools when they develop their 2016-2017 calendar. With that said, they don't develop their 2016-2017 calendar until around December of this fall. So I put that out there now. We may be back later, sometime later in the school year, if they do not adopt a pre-Labor Day start, because we come in under their umbrella with the snow day waiver. The next requirement is that our calendar must include 180 instructional days. That's pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have to have 200 teacher days. 195 of those are assigned in the school year. Of those days, 15 must be non-instructional. And I point that out because those 15 play a pivotal role in how our days fall out. And I'll revert back to that in a minute. And then we have to account for 247 work days for the 12-month employees. The features of the proposed calendar in front of you. There are professional development days built in, 5 prior to the first day of school, and 2 during the school year. Teacher work days. There are 4 prior to the first day of school. 2 of those 4 are the flex days that the teachers have to choose during the month of August on those specified weeks. And then the other 2 of those 4 are the days they report to the building, and on that Friday, it will be a work day in their building. The other 4 work days, we were able to add one at the end of each quarter to give them time to close out their grade book and prepare for the next quarter, which was very well received, by the way. And then I listed our holidays there. One holiday that we did add back into the 16-17 calendar that hasn't always been in is President's Day. We added that in February. Winter break does look a little different than it traditionally does. Due to that week and the holidays, the way they fall, the committee felt that we were going to extend into that week further than we usually would because the holidays fall later in that 2-week session. And it is 1 day less than 2 weeks. But we're giving this January 2nd off to the teachers after the holiday break. Spring break remains intact as it always has been, and Memorial Day remains there. And with all of these requirements and features into the proposed calendar that you have in front of you, we were able to end the school year 1 day earlier than we previously have in the other years. Some of the comments that we received on the survey, the majority of the people were okay with the pre-Labor Day start. However, we received a lot of comments about if we start early, why don't we end earlier? And I go back to those 15 non-instructional days. Because either we put them at the front of the year, or after the year, or somewhere in the middle. And we still have to squeeze in 180 instructional days. Those non-instructional days are the factors that we have to deal with and try to make everyone happy. So we took all those factors in, and this is our proposed calendar. We tried to meet most of the requirements, recommendations from the survey, and I present that tonight. And that is it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Williams?
The academic committee went back and forth with Mr. Lyon many times to receive feedback and to make sure that he obtained feedback from all the stakeholders. And thank you very much for the time and effort and energy and work you put into this, because I know it wasn't easy, especially answering all our questions. But thank you very much. We appreciate it. They did a good job, I believe.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I just want to thank Mr. Lyons and his staff for the same thing, for all your hard work. We're never going to make everybody happy, but I think a lot of effort was made to try to do the best we can to come up with a good schedule. Sorry.
Now, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, sir. I do like the novel approach of trying to start before Labor Day, spreading out the teacher work days, so some at the start, spread them throughout the year so they actually are timed where they can make sense. Actually, the only question I have is where the yellow with the hashing where it says school division closed. By my count, that's 14, and I wondered, especially a personnel question, where that compares with the current and past school years. That sounds higher than it historically is.
Yes, I think usually around 13.
I was going to say 12, but okay.
But it's the way the calendar played out, the way the days played out. But there are 247 working days in the calendar. So those have, I've made sure that calculation is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that's actually one of the nice changes we did is the color coding to delineate the division closed from just the holidays this year, so it's clear for people.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for your work. We appreciate it. And we will go to policies. Okay. Mrs. Besky?
Yeah, so the policy committee convened last week and mostly just did updates that were sent to us from VSBA. In your packets at your seats tonight, if you hadn't seen them before, is a whole packet with those policies. And I have not received any feedback as of yet. They will be put on the consent agenda for approval at the next meeting if, again, there's no feedback or a need to discuss any of them.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Thank you. Salary scales, Dr. McGorrick.
Ms. Wingfield?
The support salary scales were done differently this year. In the past, they were based on a mid, max. What we have done is taken each of the grades for the salaries and given them 30 steps. So that's a big change for us, and you have a copy of those because we've also divided the different grades up into day counts because all of our employees are not 12-month or 10-month, as well as their 8-hour days. This is the phase one of our salary scales for support employees this fall. We will begin looking through, I don't know how far, we'll begin looking at each support employee's past experience in an effort to make sure that all of our employees are placed equitably on the support salary scale. Phase two will involve a review of the experience, and that would also involve if people aren't placed appropriately, if they warrant more service, then that would warrant a compensation change, which, depending on what we find as we go through employees' personnel files, could be done in phases over the course of several years. More information later on that.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Are there any questions? Is our children learning? Are there any questions? Comments?
I do
Ms.
have
Purdy?
a comment. So this is just sort of like the latest chapter in a long saga. I do recall before I was actually on the school board when the salary scales would come up, and then we saw the original study that was done almost 3 years ago. And there's been this very, very steady progress where we're trying to fix the salary scales so that Manassas City Public Schools are postured to always stay competitive with the local market. We're not exactly there yet, but we're actually trending there at a very, very rapid rate given how complicated and all of the moving pieces associated with these salaries adjustments. I think this is something that's ultimately going to yield big dividends to both the staff as well as our students, because it will allow us to keep the people who are high-end educators. And you know, livelihood is one of the first things that people think about when they decide whether or not they're going to stay or go. And so this is an incredible management tool, and we're making it stronger as we make these adjustments. We're not there yet, but it's good progress.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Mrs. Besky?
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank you and your staff for all the hard work in putting this together. It's been something that I know, at least the time I've been on this board, that we've asked about a couple of times, and you haven't been here very long, and to have already accomplished this is a lot of work. So thank you very much for all of that.
Lee Miller, actually, I showed her the template that we had used in another district. So instead of having the individual steps like the teacher salary scale, she took the template that I gave her and created those. So
thank you, and again, thank you to your staff.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, now we are moving to action. Finance. Student fees. It will be the student fees.
Mr. Hawkins?
Mr. Hawkins.
Good evening. Tonight before you for your approval is the school year 2015-2016 student building use, food service fees and charges along with the fee waiver policy. There's only two fee changes from the prior year, and that is the addition of the e-backpack device damage repair fee and the lost or destroyed fee. And those are on the first page of the fee sheet that you have. The e-backpack device damage repair fee will be assessed in each instance in which the e-backpack device must be repaired due to damage. To date, we have more than 335 instances of cracked or damaged screens out of approximately 1,200 devices utilized by students. Each tablet currently carries a one-year accidental damage protection policy, which will expire this summer. The cost to MCPS for a full screen repair is approximately $150 per instance when not covered by some form of a protection plan. Along with other strategies to prevent damage, we are working to procure a group insurance policy for all devices for the next school year. The e-backpack damage repair fee will help in offsetting the cost of damage protection and any additional repairs to digital learning devices. The only other changes on your fee sheet are, you'll see on the first page of food service, NSF check fee. That's different than what the school division had. We've always had these differences within our system. It was just not noted on the schedule. Also, on the last page, we start looking at proposed fees and charges for next school year for school lunches. We've always had an adult premium lunch charge at both the intermediate and the secondary level. It had also been admitted off of the schedule in past years. So those I think are the differences that are from the schedule from which you've seen in prior years. Also, if you look under the fee waiver policy or the fees which are not eligible for waiver, you'll notice that we have the second bullet talks about reasonable charges for lost or destroyed e-backpack devices or e-backpack damage repair fee. These are considered, as the title says, not eligible for waiver. So those are the changes that have been made to the fee schedule. Are there any questions or concerns?
Make a motion.
Sure. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I move that the School Board of the City of Manassas waive second reading and approve the fiscal year 2015-16 student fees and charges, building use fees, and food service fees and charges as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mrs. Kiefer. Discussion. Anyone? Mrs. Besky?
Mr. Hawkins, I assume that, I like the clarity that's been made with adding some of these things back in. I assume these will be updated on the respective websites so that the transparency will be present for the public?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Robert?
So I appreciate everyone's indulgence in that we are waiving second reading so that we can actually, as Mrs. Savesky just said, in a transparent way, get this data out as quickly as possible. I think it's important to realize for another year, we've held meal prices firm, building use fees firm, student fees the same. We've done a couple of clarifications in it relative to what it means to, again, increase our level of transparency. And the only real addition is a damage fee associated with breaking one of the e-backpacks, tablets, whatever we want to call them. And ask any parent who's got a teenager with a smartphone, when you hold them accountable like that, it probably makes a little bit of a difference, and since we've had a 25% breakage rate, it's probably a smart thing to do, and it's not so much, in my opinion, a fee increase as an embracement and a transition into where the new environment is. So, no questions, just, I appreciate what staff has done.
Thank you very much, sir. I do have a question. I remember 3, 4, 8 years ago, I don't know, we were mandated our price per meal by the federal government, and we had a surplus, and we had to raise the price. Do we know the ruling on that, the reason that is, and why we don't have to raise it again, thankfully?
So there's a federal law, it says when you have a reimbursable meal, you can't charge a paid meal less than what you would get back from the federal government for a reimbursable meal. You can't make money off the federal government for school lunch or breakfasts. So you can't charge the paid kids one thing and then get a reimbursable meal for another price.
Okay.
So we are, talked to our food service director, we are in full compliance with that law, and that we are not required at this time to raise breakfast or lunch prices for this year. We may have to in future years, but not at this time.
Because it looks like we probably did that maybe in 13, 14, I don't know. Well, the elementary breakfast, it's been a while.
That's been a while.
So and we had to raise it up to match that number.
That's right.
And we are doing fine. Food service is doing a fine job staying solvent.
Food service department is very solid. They're self-sufficient. They're not taking any funds away from the school division.
Right, and hopefully it can stay that way, but our prices haven't gone up. That means also that the reimbursement hasn't gone up at all either, to where costs probably are starting to go up from when we raised costs 5 years ago. So the federal government has not raised theirs yet either, so we need to be aware of that. But I thank you very much for this, and again, to food services for being solvent and being so heads up with the dollars. It's very reassuring. Somebody else have something? Ms. Spall?
Kind of a dumb question. For
There's no
admission,
such thing here.
for admission fees, it says it varies from $6 for sporting events to $50 for prom, but they charged more than that for prom this year, so I'm just wondering if anyone actually watches that.
What page are you on?
Page 2.
Backside. Under admission fees?
Oh, admission fee. $50 for prom.
I don't know, but I thought that this year's reason the ticket price was a little different was because it was an inclusive for both prom and the after-prom party. Wasn't that it?
No, it was the same way last year.
Yeah.
But did you get more than just prom? Did you get after prom with the
ticket
same
price.
cost?
After prom was included last year, and it was still $50.
Last year?
Yeah.
All right, but this year, you had prom and after prom for how much?
$55.
Okay. That's probably the get-around there that you added, but it looks like a get-around rather than what should be.
Mr. Chair, if I might, one thing I would think is it's going to be based on the cost of the venue, and the venue did change this year. So I don't know if we want to actually have that listed there, because that's going to vary based on, now that's just my assessment, having been a parent for 8 years at the high school, but I don't know if we need to ask Mrs. Benner, but I'm assuming that that number's going to vary based on the venue and how much fundraising the classes have done to compensate for that venue cost. Is that right?
Well, then we need to take that out of there for the 15-16 year.
I mean, I don't think it should really be there for that reason ever, because it's going to vary based on wherever their venue is.
So would you like to propose a substitute motion that we adopt it with the deletion of the prom cost?
Yes, sir, I would.
The maker of the motion is amenable if the seconder is. Is there one?
Second. You agree? Sure.
All right, is there any further discussion?
On the new motion or the?
Whichever.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, because I too went through the whole cost of prom. One of the things that I do worry about is there's sort of like this social pressure and expectation. When I went to school, you went to prom and you went to dinner. Now you go to dinner, you go to prom, you go to after prom, you go to breakfast, and then oftentimes you go to somebody's house for a few hours sleepover so that you can have brunch at their parents' house later. One of the things I think is well served by having this number in here is that you keep the ticket prices affordable across the student body. $50 is kind of a lot of money, but it does provide a sort of a cap, and it does also give an incentive for the kids to participate in the fundraising, and that is what will drive where they do the venue. So not to have any kind of guidance, not sure what kind of impact that's going to have.
Mr.
So I really don't know. I just want to bring that up as food for thought.
I agree with that, to say that there should be some kind of cap, because when I was in the junior class and we were fundraising, we were told that we couldn't charge more than $50, so we had to come up with Mr. Osborne and run that. And then we asked the juniors this year if they wanted to run it, they just said no, and then they charged more money. It does then fall on if they have a adult running the class that can really handle it. If they only have one person, it shouldn't fall on one teacher to run a whole male pageant like that, but I don't think it should just be left up to, we don't want to fundraise, so we'll charge them $70.
Right.
Good point.
I think it's a very good point. So I would say what the ladies have argued, that we should probably put a number on there. Any suggestions to what that number should be?
I think that we would have to consult with the people at the high school that do the planning to know how much the venues are locally, to know what would be a reasonable number. I mean, I think $50 is a lot, but I don't know what any of the other area high schools pay and do to make this event go off, to have anything to compare to.
Well, even if we don't have that, I mean, what's a reasonable cap number to where our kids in our city can't afford to go to prom? Because maybe you won't have it at the Ritz, maybe you'll have it in the gym like we did, so that everybody can go. Because if your number gets so high, then nobody can go, at least, or maybe a third of the kids in this city can go. Because your numbers, if they keep getting up there like that, that could be a problem. Does anybody have any suggestions?
I worry about we're getting in the weeds of policy management here.
Right.
I mean, we already have a policy that Ms. Ball just pointed out we didn't follow. So that tells me it's a bad policy, period, end of statement. And if we arbitrarily want to come up with a number, I get the point about setting a number because we want to make it affordable. This is a free market economy. Market dynamics will decide who goes based upon the price. And the kids are running it, they're in charge with their student advisor, they're making a venue that's based upon what they want. It's market-based. They choose to fundraise, they choose not to.
Okay. We have Ms. Williams.
My comment was going to be just pretty much what I would say is based on past this prologue. If no one complained about $50 before, leave it as is for now.
The $50?
But we didn't follow it.
Well, then we have to follow it then.
Maybe it did. If it included after prom, maybe it did follow it. After prom's a different event, isn't it?
They did the same thing last year. The ticket for after prom included it, and essentially the only kids that had to pay for after prom last year and this year were those kids only going to the after prom. Those ticket amounts varied last year from this year, but both years the tickets included it. So the fact that it was 55 this year, and I don't remember what they were last year. Do you? Were they 40?
I believe they're 50, but Mom, did you get any money from...
Mom?
I'm sorry. Did you get any money from the junior class from ticket sales?
I don't really have that.
Getting in the weeds.
But I definitely got money from school, so you guys make it $55 to be done.
Just to come up here and talk.
Well, right now, the substitute motion on the table is to remove it, so I guess we might need to make a decision on what we want the motion to be.
We can vote on the substitute motion, leave it pass or fail, and go back to the original motion.
Right.
if it fails.
All right, calling for the vote on the substitute motion. Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mrs. Kiefer, that the school board of the city of Manassas waive second reading and approve the fiscal year 2015-2016 student fees and charges, building use fees, and student fees and charges as amended for the prom cost being removed. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Did you all three go yay?
No, I'm trying to figure out what we're,
Yeah, that was kind of,
what we're doing.
I'm like,
That was with, all right,
you get kind of an all or nothing sort of thing. You want,
With the
you can't
fee being
approve
removed.
what you want, but
the way it was presented with the fee being removed. All right, could you call the roll? That motion was Albrecht, second Kiefer.
Mrs. Purdy?
nay.
Mr. Williams?
Nay.
Mrs. Sebeski?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Aye.
Mrs. Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman DeMaria?
Yes. So it carries 4-2. Well done. I like that.
Parliamentary procedure.
Yeah.
I think we came close to following your
Yeah, we were close. There are a couple things we'll work on. Thank you all very much. All right, so that's moved and out of the way. Student Code of Conduct, Dr. McGorrick.
Yes, Mr. Collins. At our last meeting, there was some discussion about some changes to the introduction to the Student Code of Conduct. There were revisions made and sent by way of email to all board members with suggestions, any suggestions to be returned back. Mr. Williams submitted a few changes in wording. Those were made, and what you have in your handbook is the changes that were placed in the introduction that spoke to the powers of the school board.
You're not making a presentation, am I correct?
No, he's here to answer any questions.
Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the 2015-2016 Student Code of Conduct as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mr. Williams. Discussion. I'm quite satisfied the way it's been changed, sir.
I'd like to thank staff for being responsive.
Yes, very much so. Everybody good? Motion that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the 2015-2016 Student Code of Conduct as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 6-0. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it, Max. All your hard work. Okay. I believe we are done except for the closed session, correct?
That's correct.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chair, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas enter closed session pursuant to exemption from open meetings as allowed by section 2.23711, part A, paragraph 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950, as amended for the following purpose. Section 2.23711, part A, paragraph 1, discussion of a personnel matter.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mr. Williams, that the school board of the city of Manassas enter closed session pursuant to exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.2-3711, part A, paragraph 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950, as amended for the following purposes. Discussion of a personnel matter. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 6-0.